If you clicked on this video, you're wondering one thing. You've got a B58 powered car, maybe like the M340 that I had before, or maybe you've got an M240 or 440, or maybe you've got a Supra or even an F-Series M car, and you're thinking about making the jump, doing the upgrade to the S58. Nowadays, it seems like everyone has one of these, whether it be an M2, M3, or M4. If you go to a car meet, you see these things everywhere. But you're probably thinking about upgrading some car like an M340 to a G80 M3. But lucky for you, I traded in my M340 for this G80. And I also had a Mark V Supra before that, and I've got tons of friends with F80 M3s that have let me drive their car before. And so in this video, I'm gonna be helping you answer the question if you should upgrade to a G80 M3 or not. Because I'll be honest, the price point is pretty high, but these things make $750 to the wheel with bolt-ons. They also handle really well, and they're one of the best cars that you can buy for under $100,000. And even for some specs, you can find X-Drive models for under $80K. So let's figure out or not if you should upgrade to a G80 M3. So I've had this car for the last 2 months, and I must say I haven't modded it yet, so maybe my opinions will change in the future. But I used to have a full bolt-on M340, Valvetronic exhaust, everything. If you're a regular viewer of the channel, you remember that car very well. And after over a year of searching for the perfect spec BMW M3, I finally found this one in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I had it shipped over to me. And there's a lot on this car that I wouldn't order a G80 M3 without. And right off the bat, I've got to talk about this. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok at S58NY. But one of the reasons it took me so long to find it is because I wanted bucket seats. That's just me personally. I'm not the tallest or the widest person, and I heard that bucket seats really add to the driving experience of this car, so I knew I absolutely had to get them. I also didn't want the carbon ceramic brake package, and that's because replacing the carbon ceramic brakes are a ton of money, and I'd much rather just have regular steel ones that are great for daily driving and I don't have to warm up all the time. And I knew I wanted an individual color, which I knew would be a little bit more money, and I really wanted this fire orange color, so I ended up finding this Yare edition, which is the 50th anniversary edition. You can see that right there in the door. So it has special stitching on the headrest, and even this, let me move this creeper cup, little special 1 of 500 plaque. But other than this plaque right here in the stitching, there really isn't much difference over a standard BMW M3. I don't know, I just wanted my car to feel a little bit more special, especially because so many people have this car. But you're here to figure out if you should upgrade to this car. Like I said, I had an M340 before this, and my God, let me just take a moment to really appreciate this car because it just looks so good right now. But comparing the way a modded M340 to a stock G80 feels, in terms of driving experience, they both feel really great. This one obviously handles way better, and that is the second main selling point of this car because you don't have to do all the suspension work. If you put coilovers and sway bars on an M340, it'll feel pretty close to what this car feels like, at least in terms of handling. But the main selling point is this right here. Everyone wants an S58 engine. This engine is like the B58 and S55 had a baby. It feels like it has the motorsport focus of the S55, but it also has the reliability and tunability of the B58. 2 air intakes because this thing is twin turbo, of course, as opposed to the B58 single turbo. Comes with a strut brace from the factory that also makes it handle just a little bit better. You can put an aftermarket one on your M340 to make it handle just a little bit better, but I am pretty disappointed with a lot of what this car has. But if you have an F80 M3, if you've ever seen an F80 M3, you remember that huge carbon fiber brace that it had under the hood? Yeah, this one doesn't have it. It just has these apprentice looking welds that it has on this strut brace. I think everyone complains about these welds really just because when you pop the hood, it makes the car look a little bit cheap. A lot of people upgrade this strut brace, they put an aftermarket one. I probably won't be upgrading it unless I get a good deal because I mean, this doesn't bother me too much. But like I said, in some cases with the 6-figure price tag, to get something like that is kind of crazy to me. The S58 with bolt-ons makes something like $750 to the wheel. That is a huge jump from the $500 that it comes with stock or the $500 that you get with bolt-ons on your B58. Cheapest you're gonna find an X-Drive G80 is somewhere around $80K. If you still want an X-Drive model, you can get a G82 M4 for a little bit cheaper. I know those don't sell as well as G80 M3s do. Everyone says the G80 just looks a lot better, and I mean, I definitely agree. This rear quarter panel and the back angle just looks so much better than anything on the M4, at least in my opinion. But if you like the way the M4 looks and you want a 2-door, then go ahead and definitely get one of those. I wouldn't recommend getting a rear-wheel drive M3 or M4 because there's really no reason to when you can get the X-Drive model and you get both. You have the feature that can turn it from rear-wheel drive into all-wheel drive, and that's something a lot of people like because they don't have to get X-Delete or a line lock kit, especially if you're using your car for drag racing. If you're gonna get a rear-wheel drive model, you might as well just get an M2. At least that's my opinion. Unless you really don't like the way the M2 looks. Personally, I think the M2 is the ugliest modern M car. That's just my opinion. I even think the new M5 looks a lot better than it. But if I was gonna get a rear-wheel drive one, I'd rather spend way less and get an M2 than getting a rear-wheel drive M3 or M4. And while you can make $750 to the wheel with any of them, mods are also way more expensive for this car. See, we've got a little thing called the M tax, and if you haven't owned an M car before, it's pretty much saying that everything for the M cars are just more expensive because they can be. Companies like to overcharge us for regular parts that should be a lot cheaper. Obviously, in a twin turbo car, you have 2 downpipes, so downpipes will be more expensive. But there's not really any reason an exhaust should be more expensive, especially when it looks the same and uses the same amount of material that any other exhaust for any other car would. Or even brake pads. One of the things I hate the most on this car is that the brakes squeak so much. It's just because they're performance brakes, but every G80 owner hates this so much. I went to look up how much brake pads cost, and and for my M340, I got front and rear for somewhere around $400. Just the fronts on this car cost like $400. But okay, maybe it's a bigger brake set, bigger brake pads, you're using more material, right? So I guess it should be more expensive. But intakes, intake manifolds, any type of repair that you have to do for the car. You've also got more things to change out, like the front grills, the little bottom things over here, and the big front grill. So that's just more money that you got to spend modifying your car. And if you like to spend money modifying your car, then it's not really a problem for you. But just know that all the parts to build it up to that 750 wheel horsepower, and even to make it look as good as this car can look, is going to cost you a lot more than it would have on your B58 and even the S55 powered cars, because this car is newer and just more popular. But what about monthly payments? I'm going to be fully transparent with you guys because nobody else here on YouTube is. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, comment down below, and like this video if you've enjoyed it so far. Talking about payments, I'm going to disclose exactly what my M340 costs and what my G80 cost me. So MSRP, my A90 Supra was about 50K and I put about 10K down. I was financing about 39 to 40K and my interest rate was 5% on that car. I want to say my monthly payment was around 650, somewhere in the mid sixes. Then I traded that for my M340. My M340 MSRP was around 50K. I traded it evenly and it added taxes and fees. So my financing amount was slightly higher. My interest rate was also slightly higher at 5.5%. That was back when things were good. I did not get the same interest rate on this car. For my M340, I was paying around $730 a month. Now for this car, it was a completely different story. I bought it towards the end of 2024. So the rates were a little bit higher, but in the first quarter of 2025, those rates are steadily coming down. My interest rate for this car is about 7.5%, but I must say I had good credit and I didn't have any cosigner. I believe maybe because of my age, they didn't want to approve me for any loan, and the only people that would approve me was Bank of America. There was only one bank that approved me, but they required me to put at least $10,000 down. And since I already went through the entire deal and I had my heart set on this car, and there were so many other people that were calling the dealership asking about this car, for the sake of my YouTube channel and for all the videos that I make on cars here on Instagram, on TikTok, I just decided to buy it and I put that $10,000 down, and MSRP was 88K, which brought my financed amount down to 79K, and monthly I pay just about $1350 a month for this car. For some of you guys, that might be insane. That's almost double what I paid for my M340, and I'm paying that every single month. For other people, that might not be as bad as you thought it might be. I know people for this car that pay $1,600, $1,800. I even know one guy that pays like $2,200 with zero down. To me, that's insane. That's rent payments to me. I would never pay more than $1,600 for this car. I'm able to justify the payments on this car because I make content on YouTube with this car. I also do TikTok. Instagram does not pay at all. I also do TikTok even though I don't make any money yet. And I have about 30K on Instagram, but Instagram still doesn't pay anybody. I only keep doing Instagram to hopefully get sponsorships to build this car with. But my dream after all is to build cars here on YouTube with you guys. So I was able to justify the payments because of that. I can't tell you your financial situation if you're not making any kind of money with the car, or if you don't have a really good paying job. I don't know if it's necessarily worth it buying the car. That's just a financial decision that you have to make for yourself. But I wanted to be transparent with you guys here on my channel because nobody else is. So I hope you guys appreciate that and make sure you subscribe. So it's a more expensive car and it's more expensive to build, but is it worth it upgrading from an M340 or another car up to a G80 M3? The answer is kind of complicated. It's yes and no. If you don't have a ton of money to spend, I would 100% just stick with an F80 M3 or even an M340. But if you want the cheapest version of a car like this, then definitely go with a G87 M2. That car is awesome, and although it only comes in rear-wheel drive, you are getting almost everything that this car has for a fraction of the price. You can find the absolute cheapest M2s for around 60K. And I know most of those are going to be manuals, but you can find under 70K an automatic M2 with very good options if you shop used. I personally wouldn't buy any of these cars if it wasn't fully loaded or at least close to fully loaded. You can still find fully loaded 2022 X-Drive G80 M3s without the new interior, no LCI headlights. This one's a 2023, so it has the new interior and the old exterior, which to me 2022 or 2023 is the best model year. I think the headlights on these just look way better. If you're not a fan of the huge screen like I have, then definitely go ahead and get a 2022. I also personally really love the bucket seats on this car. I think they just add to the driving experience. But like I said, I'm not the tallest and I'm not the widest person, so I personally fit great in them. But the comfort seats, or sofa seats as a lot of people call them, are some of the most comfortable seats that I've ever sat in. I personally don't care too much about how the back looks. I really just wanted the driving experience of having a bucket seat in my car. But I would try to find one that's, you know, semi fully loaded. You can even get a 2022 with the old iDrive system. You can get bucket seats if you want. You know, you can get a nice color, even just wrap it if you want. If you really just want the performance of the S58 engine, then go ahead and get an M2 if you don't mind how it looks. And if you like the M4, they are definitely way cheaper than pretty much every G80 out there, and they're essentially the exact same car. They just look a little different in the rear. But is it really worth the money to upgrade to this car over a B58 or S55? I think if you're a content creator, having a more affordable car is a lot easier. It's a lot easier to appeal to your audience doing that kind of thing, but I know a lot of my audience also really likes G80 M3s, and I really wanted a G80 M3, so that's why I decided to upgrade to it. I wasn't going to upgrade my M340 to an F80 M3. However, sometime down the line, line, I kind of would like to own an F80 M3. I also personally think the F80 does drive better than the G80. I just feel like this car is very electronically assisted, or at least it feels that way in the steering. And I know once I do bolt-ons on this car and I really start modifying it, it is going to completely change the way the car drives and feels and even sounds. It is a really great car, but comparing a stock G80 to a modified M340, I've got to say I'd probably take the M340. Or even a modified F80, I've got to say I'm taking the modified ones because I really like modified cars. But comparing a modified S58 compared to those other cars, obviously 1000% I'm taking this one. I'd say if you've got the money, because the money is the most important thing really, and you want the ultimate version of an M car, 1000% get a G80 M3 or M4 or M2 or whatever you want. Because it handles amazing, although not as good as the F80 like I said. But this thing with bolt-ons is a beast in the straight line. I really think that this car is like an F80 M3 and an M340 had a baby. Combine the best parts of both of those cars and this is what you get. So if you have either one of those cars and you want both of them put together, I think a G Series M car is really the way to go. And like I said, I've owned a full bolt-on Supra, I've owned a full bolt-on M340, I've driven a ton of F80 M3s. I really like the way those things handle. I've never driven a modified F80. I know those things are way faster than they are stock, but for my 2 or 3 months of ownership on this G80 M3, I really think that this car is a jack of all trades. It handles great, it's great in a straight line, it's all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive in one, 4 doors for the whole family, crazy bucket seats, crazy interior, crazy colors. There's really nothing that you could possibly want that this car doesn't have. And if you want to wait a little bit, they'll definitely be going down in value, but if you're scratching your neck to get one, then just go ahead and pick one up. And if you've watched this far into the video, let me know if I should get the banana headlights, you know, the yellow DRLs, but comment banana down below so I know you're a real one. But as always guys, my name is Ryan from Gears and Gains. Thank you for watching this far. It really means the world to me, and I'll see you in the next one.